Hey everyone, I'm Lucy. Today joined by a very special guest, Greg Miller from Kind of Funny.
Hello, Lucy. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How are things in the living room?
Well, I get all the sun. You in your bedroom, you're angled away from your windows. You know what I mean? That was a smart move on your part. We should have probably, I guess a year ago, changed up the living room, but we didn't.
So Greg is joining me today for a very special episode of Kind of Funny show First Impressions, which you can go watch youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. But we're talking about the brand new game from Hazelight Studios, It Takes Two, which is a cooperative game where you play a couple who's getting divorced, and basically due to COVID, no one can really do couch co-op with, like we were at an event for the game, no one can really do couch co-op except for us. So the
benefits of us living together.
One of the many benefits.
One of the many.
So we're going to talk about our experience with the game because we played it for about an hour and a half and had a really great time with it. And here's why you should be excited.
At the very top, Lucy, what do you think of it?
I really loved it, and I was really caught off guard by it because obviously Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, and A Way Out, their previous games from Hazelight are very... Brothers is very, very emotionally impactful, and so playing It Takes Two is, I mean, in the presentation, like Josef himself kept saying, this is a rom-com, and I was initially a bit, had a bit of trepidation about that because I've never really seen it work in a game before, but it totally works, and it was really, really funny, and that just, and very Pixar. I think that's the big thing, is that I was so surprised at how Pixar it is.
Whoa, wait, what are you doing? We don't know what's inside there.
Come on, it might be a shortcut to the house.
Yeah, but what if it's not? What if it's...
Who sent you?
No one. We come in peace.
We're trying to get to the house.
The house? What's your business there?
We haven't got time for this. Is this a shortcut or not?
Cody and May, the parents here. Cody, the husband, and then May, the blue-haired wife here. I was playing as Cody. You were playing as May, and I enjoyed Brothers fine. I enjoyed A Way Out for what it was, and I love the idea that Hazelight keeps trying to make these co-op experiences and try to make these games that you really don't see a place for. And so from the announcement of A Way Out, from It Takes Two, I was like, oh, wow, that's a really cool idea. It's more co-op. It looks polished. I'm excited to see what it's like. It was on my anticipated list. But, we could have played a little bit beyond the hour we played yesterday. And I turned to you and I was like, can we just stop? Like, I'm in. This is one of my most anticipated games of the year, bar none. Like, I was... Not only as I echo everything you just said in terms of it looks like Pixar, in terms of I can't believe how well acted it is. I can't believe how ingenious it is. But even during the presentation, one of the things Josef Fares was talking about was the idea that they're not reusing mechanics here. Like the levels themselves, as you go through, he kept saying there's no shit to collect. Like the levels are meant to be enjoyed for what they are, and every one of them is incredibly unique. And as we played through it, that's what I was finding time and time again. All these intricate little details, and when we get going here, one of the things we're doing is running around, fighting the vacuum, playing with the vacuum, and just the way that was incorporated. Of Luce, you'd have to hold up the hose, I'd have to get sucked in, and then you had to aim me to shoot me where I was going. Like, oh, this is brilliant.
It's so creative, and what I was thinking about, especially in the beginning levels, it reminded me a lot of The Borrowers and Arietti, and just these very small characters kind of making the best of just stuff that's discarded by the regular sized adults. And so the way as well that I think is really cool is that they use these items in the environment. So in this scenario, when you're kind of in the basement / shed place, they were talking about the Hoover, and it kind of, that's what really ties it into the fact that this is also a game about the dissolution of a relationship. Like the parents are getting a divorce, and that's kind of the turning point in the story that sparks them being shrunk down and turned into these dolls. And so this Hoover becomes this point of contention where it's like, he was supposed to, what was he supposed to do? He was the one who broke it.
Yeah, he vacuumed up the wrong kind of stuff. He wasn't using it for just dust. He was using like a shop vac, and then she was the one who was supposed to fix it. And so they both failed in some way on it, which obviously leads to this argument in doll world. That was an argument from real life.
Yeah, it's so cool to watch how that kind of plays into the gameplay itself, and the fact that they are being led down this path through this book, who we'll talk about in a second, but the fact that like the whole thing is their kid wants them to stay together, and so all of it requires them to be cooperating with each other. You know, Cody will do one thing and May will follow up with another thing, or a path will be blocked off unless one of them does this, the other one goes over it. And it's a really clever mashup of mechanics and story. It's really just really well acted and really well written too.
And that was the
Really
thing
fun.
about it, yeah. You know, when again, I was right there with you, and Joseph's like, "Oh, we're making a rom-com, and nobody makes rom-coms, and why don't they make rom-com?" And I was like, "Well, it's hard to do in a video game." And that was the thing that immediately caught me off guard playing it, was how well acted Cody and May were. And the fact that, like, you know, as they're going through and the characters are performing all these different things, like, I was engaged in the way I would be watching a movie or I would be watching a cartoon. And the writing's so good, and as they start to explore, I can't wait to get further into it and see more of them explore their actual relationship. Because obviously right now it is the surface level thing. You know, the game starts with the demo we got, but I'm assuming it's how the game too, right? Of like, you know, them sitting Rose down and being like, we're gonna, you know, get a divorce, and then Rose, you know, walks away not talking to them, but then goes to her dolls, cries on top of them, and then, you know, throughout this demo it's explained to us that, oh, it's a magic spell. She is dropped in real quick of like, Cody's like, oh, we learned about spells, like this is a spell she's put us under. And so that's where it is. And here's Dr. Hakim right now, who's this over the top book of love.
He's very much has the same vibe as Puss in Boots from Shrek. Just the way that he comes in and he's like, kind of plays into the Hispanic stereotypes a little bit though. I think, actually, wait, is he Hispanic?
Dr. Hakim, I don't know what he is. He's
know.
the book of love. So I that's what I took away from a little bit of that, the accent he's putting on.
Yeah, but he kind of says like Olay and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where he. Okay,
We're not sure
Barca,
we're not sure the ethnic influence of this book.
But he has the same kind of vibe where he just like comes out of nowhere. He has this musical interlude and he just kind of takes over.
And they play like the
stage.
guitar, like yeah.
And so he's honestly like just such a wild little character that comes in, and the way that he discusses kind of through chapters through his own book, it's like cooperation, and pulls out a page, and the way that he tries to kind of lead them down a path, but at the same time they have a destination that they're trying to get to, which is back to Rose, and he just refuses to immediately take them there. He's taken them on this journey, and they're kind of going to be damned if they don't follow him along, because they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, he's obviously there to help them reignite their love or figure out what went on with their relationship. But yeah, his goal is to get them back together for Rose. So like every time, you know, Rose is within arm's reach of the dolls, right? He'll slam the door, he'll pop up with his musical interlude, and then disappear as quickly as he appeared, to make sure they have to keep working together as you go through it. And I thought that was another thing too. You know, in the presentation for us that isn't posted, Joseph was talking about the fact of like, you know, you shouldn't play this. You don't play this with random people online. Don't do that. You need to be able to talk. He's like, you can't just ping something and understand what to do. And that was you hear that in a cooperative video game, you're like, sure, okay. But then, you know, jump cut to you and me doing it, and where we were doing the countdown, right? Of like, all right, 3, 2, 1. And then like having to hit the button or timeout, you know, as we slide down, there's a lot of ratchet rail sliding going on in one of the sections that's coming up here in the vacuum, and having to time everything correctly. You see really quickly where it is about cooperation even in the real world.
Yeah, totally. And it's like when you're doing stuff, because also you don't get really you don't have a really bad penalty for dying either, because you're this kind of make-believe doll. So if one of you falls off the edge, which I did a lot, and that's another thing, the game feel is really, really nice. You kind of have this, you're light enough, but you also have enough of a weight, so that as you're kind of jumping and dashing around all the levels and stuff, it feels really good. But it also means that I just kept undershooting on all my jumps and kept dying, but you'd kind of reappear straight away. You might have to be a little bit further back and the other person would have to wait for you, but it just felt like you're not necessarily going to be penalized if you're not really a game player. Like you could take this and you could give it to someone who's not a game player.
100%, yeah, and I think that's because it's got those traditional controls, and like I wasn't expecting it to feel so much like Mario when we started up, right? Like not knowing what you're getting into, just having seen a little bit about it, okay, it's a co-op platform or whatever, but you get in there and it did feel tight. It did feel like we were in control and we knew what we needed to do, and I think there are enough forgiving mechanics like you're talking about that, you know, are designed so that it is pick up and play, and whoever wants to get in there. Like I think of, you know, they have the Mario wall jump coming up, or we already saw maybe the introduction of it. And one of the things there of just like, you know, the ability to stick to the wall if you don't hit anything, to give you time to think about what you're going to do in the next puzzle or how you're going to address it, I think really helps.
It's funny you mentioned Mario because that's the thing that I was noticing is that they do the Mario kind of mechanic introduction where they give you a new mechanic. So for example, the hammer and nail thing, and they introduce it to you very, very slowly. You get to grips with it, and then they just increase that challenge until the end. It's this great connection where, you know, you have to be in sync with the other person. You're doing timings, and then you nail something. Oh, that was undeliberate, but like you nail the two of you working together, and it's story meets gameplay in this really great loop. And honestly, like doing that boss fight with the what do you call them, the toolbox,
yeah,
and it's just you kind of both coming to the same conclusion at the same time about what you have to do, and then you know, halfway through you're just automatically going where you need to go, working together, and it's just really cool.
So you're fighting this toolbox, right? And you know, it's working together. If you notice right now, Cody there, who just died, and there's this cool mechanic of you're gonna respond no matter what, but if you tap Y, you can come back quicker. Cody has 3 nails on his back. May there, Lucy's character, has the hammer head on her back, and it was about working together, right? So I can, as Cody, I can throw the nails and then recall them like Thor's hammer, but I can also use them then to implant on things, or as we will do here in a second, as we'd already learned as we're about to beat the boss, run over here, jump on that, then Luce has to hammer it. I come up here and I start throwing the nails to work on this paint can to blow that up. And that's what I think is where this game excels, is the fact that it does work. There, you know, we definitely got to points where we couldn't progress without each other, and that's how it should be, right? In a cooperative game, like we actually need to rely and we needed to communicate with each other.
I think because of the easy and quick respawns as well, you're never getting angry at the other person. You just both kind of go, oh, okay, I'll see you in a sec.
And that was the thing too, is I wasn't even getting angry at myself. You know what I mean? Usually you die, you have to restart something. Go, okay, let's go. But like, even as we were discovering like these nails in the beginning, I'm not sure how close we are to the very, very beginning of this fight, were a huge pain for me to understand because I just could not dodge them for the life of me. And it was like the hammer, the shovel kept coming down and hitting me, all these different things. But yeah, it wasn't like I was impeding the group's progress, nor did I feel like we were being punished because I was struggling to figure it out.
Yeah, it was honestly, and it just felt really good. And this moment in particular was like really, really cool because you get like the really good bit of slow-mo, and the fact that, you know, I'm playing as May and I knew I was the one who did the setup and then the one kind of delivering on it, and it's like that swaps too. It's like Cody will occasionally have moments where he's the one who's doing the main part of the puzzle and May's just kind of helping out in the background, and that swaps too, so you kind of equally get the glory, I guess, of solving puzzles. One
of the things in the lead up to this fight, I really enjoyed having to work with you with the nails, with your hammer. We're going through and like, you know, you're up ahead platforming in front of me and using the hammer to go around nails. So I have to throw the nails to time them out to get you there, to then get over there myself, to then work together. So you open up, it's like, there's all these different, like, you see it in your head like you're talking about. It's one of those like great, you know, video game serotonin moments we all have of, you know what to do, and now it's about executing on the plan. And the game does such a great job of giving you these tools, giving you light puzzles, you know what I mean? We never stood around going like, what do we have to do here? Like, what's the next thing to do? As you said, they give you the mechanic, you start to understand it, and then it's like, even here, we run up to this for the first time, I immediately see that, okay, there's that thing I need to nail as I die. But I need to nail it to the top, right? Because we know the yellow there is something that's a nailable surface. So you need to get in here, then come over here, and then throw it like that. Even though I say it's so easy and I'm not doing it. This must have been the first time we did it. But you understand what I mean.
Yeah. I get it. It's like, and that's the thing. And I think the fact that it has that real world setting, you sort of just, it's easy to kind of put the pins together and figure out what you need to do.
It's got that great stuff of like Toy Story and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids together. The hammer's talking to you right now, but when we get everybody out of the toolbox, they dance and they're excited to be, that we saved them, right? But then it is all these things that exist in a real world. Like, it's really well done in a way I wasn't expecting, in a way that I can't wait to play more of.
And I love the fact that you're kind of surrounded by these Toy Story-esque characters. Like, obviously you've got Dr. Hakim, who's the through line that kind of follows you around throughout the whole thing, but you also have, you know, we met the tools from the toolbox. A little bit further forward as well, we met the the squirrels and the rodents who are at war with the wasps, which is really cool. And it's a really cool narrative device because they're not only playing with sort of genre, but that's how you can play with gameplay. And so this is the point where you got a gun that fires exploding sap, and I got a sort of I'm not even sure what kind of gun I had.
You had
It
a
was like
matchstick
little-
gun, yeah, and I had the thing that could shoot out the sap, right? And so, yeah, you see them interrogating us here to make sure we're not part of the Wasp army. And they bring in Wasp. This is another great one of them explaining, like, even to the creatures in the world that we're inhabiting, our predicament is weird. Because the Wasps keep killing us here, and then they're about to be like, why aren't they dying? Like, why do they keep coming back like this? And well, they're clearly not with the Wasp. Let's go and figure it out. And so, yeah, they enlist you with new weapons. And again, that's the thing of you know, just from the little bit we played, it was like, okay, cool. This is the vacuum section. This is the toolbox section. This is the squirrel wasp section. And so from the very beginning, here is your tool or mechanic to use in that area to then figure out. So, you know, like for vacuum cleaner, it was the figuring out the different suction tubes to then you have one of us shoot each other over. Hammer and nail there, and then yeah, sap and matchstick gun here to go through the rest of it.
I also love the fact that one of the squirrels was basically sort of Q from James Bond.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like,
Exactly.
yeah,
They're having fun with it.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's like they have this little espionage network, and there's a really funny bit where they talk about all the stuff that's gone missing from the house.
Yeah.
That's just been nicked by these rodents, and it's just a really like everything about it is just so well thought out and crafted, at least from the time that we spent with it.
Hey, that's my underwear.
Hardly a loss.
You used to love that underwear.
Used to.
Yeah, I don't expect that to go away, right? It's such a charming game, and it's delivering an experience I don't think we get enough in games, and it is very much polished to be this narrative adventure for you to go through and play with somebody. And I do love the fact, you know, like, again, in the presentation, and even in the trailer that they released last week, there was the conversation of like, oh, well, you know, and then you know, since they're different things, you can swap to the other, you can replay it as the other character, whether it's Cody or May. And it's like one of those things like, yeah, okay, but it's like, no, I would love to do that. Like, it is, you know, your experience was so different than mine. I have no idea how the hammer feels or what it was like to go swing around with them. And like, I can totally see where I want to beat it with Jen, but then I probably want to play it with Kevin too and try to play the other way.
And also, well, that's the thing. Josef Fares was saying that no collectibles or anything like that because, and he brought up a really great point, which was like it's difficult enough to get people to finish a game. Let
He's talking about replayability.
replay it. And so while you'll obviously have a different experience playing as the other character, it's not going to be it's a linear story. It's not going to be wildly different.
Which is what I love in
was
games.
Cool. Yeah.
Tell us your story. What is your story? Let's see what it is. And I think, you know, like there's no, it's a rom-com, but it's such a serious topic, right? Where I mean, to, you know, have it based around the fact that their daughter, right, Rose, is crying and wishes this into existence. Like, it's one of those weird ones that he describes as a rom-com, but I still don't know if the happily ever after happy ending is them getting back together or if it's just that they can coexist, because that seems to be their struggle right now. And that's interesting. That's a nice narrative design to have as coming in of I want to see what the other environments and biomes are going to be for sure and what the other tools will be, but I also want to know, hey, how's this going to shake out for the characters?
Yeah, because I think that, you know, we talked about how great the writing is, but also they do a really great job of having a sense of these characters have lived together and loved each other for so long, but they're at that breaking point in their relationship. And so there are occasional moments where I think Cody at one point refers to May as babe or love or something, and it's just probably like it's an old reflex. But it's after they've done something and they've worked together on it. And so I am genuinely invested in seeing if they will stay together or, you know, keep going on with their divorce. But it's a testament to how well that's written, because a lot of the times in games it's, you know,
story in the backseat.
Yeah, that connection's not necessarily there, but with these two, and like I've said this a million times, but like how well the gameplay links with that story, it's just so clever.
Yeah, I think that's what's caught me off guard, is that I think so far everything we've seen, whether it be gameplay, performance, writing, narrative, it's all top notch. Like it's I think so far and away the best thing Hazelight has done, and that's saying something because they've made great games. But yeah, this one I can't wait to see all the way through and play a couple times.
This was fun. I really love talking about games with you. Thank you so much for asking me to be on First Impressions and allowing us to house it on GameSpot. Nice little collab.
Little collab on the internet. That's what we do. Don't worry about it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for always paying your rent on time.
You're very welcome. That's very important to me. I am building a credit score.
Okay.
Greg, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find all of our stuff over on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Daily content over there. Come hang out and talk games with us.
Hell yeah. And I'm on Twitter at LeeSaJamesGames, and we'll see you next time.